All right, so get this. Um, we are diving into something called Project 2025 today.
Okay.
And no, it's not a sci-fi movie.
Right.
Got to hear this. It's a whole conservative plan to basically hit a giant reset button on the U.S. government come 2025.
Yeah, and we're not talking hypotheticals here.
Really?
This is a full-on, meticulously crafted plan,
Wow.
ready to roll if a conservative candidate takes the White House in 2024.
Okay, color me intrigued.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with Project 2025? Give us the rundown.
Imagine this, over 50 conservative groups.
Wow.
Big names like the Heritage Foundation, Alliance Defending Freedom, all banded together.
Okay.
Their goal: to be ready to essentially take the reins of government on day one.
50 organizations. That's not just a group project.
Yeah.
That's a whole movement.
It is.
What are they hoping to achieve with all of this?
They want to dismantle what they call the administrative state.
Okay.
Basically, they see it as the root of government overreach, squashing conservative values.
Now, administrative state, that's one of those phrases you hear thrown around.
Sure.
What are we really talking about here?
It's their term for what they see as bloated bureaucracy, regulations gone wild,
Right.
and policies that clash with their whole idea of a smaller government.
Yeah.
Think of it as their ultimate bureaucratic enemy.
So not just tinkering around the edges.
No.
They want to fundamentally change how the government operates. Bold move.
Exactly, and here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
They're drawing a direct line to the Reagan era. Remember the 1980 Mandate for Leadership?
A blast from the past.
Okay.
Refresh my memory.
Think of it as the playbook that influenced Reagan's time in office. Project 2025 is intentionally modeled after that, proving how powerful strategic planning can be.
So they're aiming for a Reagan-level impact, but in 2025.
That's right.
Ambitious is an understatement.
Yeah, this time they're claiming the stakes are even higher.
Oh, wow.
They believe American freedom and liberty are on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And to achieve that, they've broken Project 2025 down into 4 key pillars.
4 pillars, huh? Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay.
What's the first one?
Pillar 1 is the blueprint.
Okay.
It's literally a book. Mandate for Leadership 2025, the Conservative Promise. Think of it as their policy Bible,
Okay.
laying out concrete recommendations for almost every single federal agency.
Wow. So if a conservative candidate wins, this book is basically the day one game plan.
Yeah.
Talk about being prepared.
Precisely, but it gets even more interesting. Pillar 2 is all about people power,
Okay.
building a network of individuals ready to step into key positions.
Now that's what I call forward thinking. Tell me more.
Imagine a database filled with vetted conservatives,
Huh?
all prepped and ready to fill important government roles.
Right.
This is about having their team in place from the get-go.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time. This is like a conservative dream team waiting in the wings.
And to make sure that dream team is ready to hit the ground running, they have Pillar 3. Boot camp.
Boot camp. Are we picturing like policy briefings with obstacle courses? What's the training regimen?
It's an academy designed to train these future leaders on how the government actually works.
Okay.
You're not leaving anything to chance.
Okay, so we got the plan, the people, the training.
Uh-huh.
What's left?
Pillar 4 is where the rubber meets the road.
Okay.
They're not just suggesting policies.
Right.
They are crafting detailed transition plans ready to deploy the moment a new administration steps in.
Wow.
This is about seizing control from day one.
Wow, this is next level planning. This isn't just a wish list.
So
It's a full-blown takeover strategy.
it is.
Who are the masterminds behind all of this?
The book reads like a who's who of conservative thinkers and former government officials.
Right.
You've got people like Christopher Miller,
Mm-hmm.
former acting Secretary of Defense, weighing in on, well, defense.
Makes sense.
And Ben Carson, former Housing and Urban Development Secretary,
Right.
offering his thoughts on, you guessed it, housing and urban development.
So these aren't just armchair quarterbacks. We're talking about seasoned players with real government experience.
Exactly, but it's not a hive mind situation.
Oh, interesting.
The book acknowledges there are even disagreements within the conservative movement itself.
So it's not all smooth sailing within the movement.
Right.
Give us an example of where there's some friction.
They don't see eye to eye on everything.
Okay.
They actually included differing viewpoints on things like the Export-Import Bank and trade policy.
Okay.
They're acknowledging those internal debates.
So they're not pretending everything's perfect.
Right.
They're actually trying to get ahead of potential disagreements.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying, here's where we agree, here's where we don't, and here's some options for the future. That's actually pretty savvy when you think about it.
Absolutely. It shows a level of strategic thinking you don't always see in these kinds of blueprints.
Yeah.
But internal debates aside, they definitely seem united when it comes to the actual policy areas they want to tackle.
Let's dive into those specifics.
Okay.
I'm seeing a lot in these materials about their plans for education, energy, agriculture, homeland security. They really cover it all, don't they?
They really do. And if you're interested in the future of education,
Right.
Lindsey Burke is a name you'll want to remember.
Okay.
She was on Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin's education transition team, and she's a major vice in this project.
Okay, so she's a big deal in education circles.
Yeah.
What's her vision, and how does it play into Project 2025?
One of their big pushes is school choice, letting federal education dollars follow students, not just school systems.
That's been a central point for conservatives for a while now, right?
Exactly. They
Yeah.
see it as a way to give parents more control and boost competition, which they believe will lead to better schools overall.
But this is one of those ideas that always sparks debate.
Yeah.
Critics argue it could end up hurting public schools. Did the book address that side of the argument at all?
They acknowledge the concerns for sure, but their bottom line is that empowering parents is crucial, even if it ruffles some feathers and challenges the status quo.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, parents are the ones who are most invested in their kids' education.
Right.
What else did they highlight when it came to education?
Another big one is pushing back against critical race theory and what they call woke ideology in classrooms.
Right.
They're proposing stricter oversight of what's being taught and even tying federal funding to how schools handle these topics.
It seems like they're not shying away from those hot-button cultural issues, even when it comes to something as fundamental as education.
It's about aligning education with what they see as core American values, values they believe are under attack.
Right.
And this commitment to their vision extends to other key areas as well, like energy.
All right, let's talk energy.
Oh.
What's their strategy for powering America?
Their approach boils down to energy independence.
Right.
They're all about unleashing domestic energy production, particularly when it comes to fossil fuels.
So less reliance on other countries and more emphasis on traditional energy sources.
Exactly. They argue it will strengthen the economy, create jobs, and reduce our reliance on what they call hostile nations for energy.
But you can't talk about energy without addressing the elephant in the room. Climate change. How do they approach that?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
They acknowledge that climate change is real, but they're skeptical of how serious the impact will be.
Okay.
They're more focused on practical solutions and less on major government intervention.
So more of a proceed with caution stance than a sound the alarm approach.
Right. They're worried about the economic impact of drastic climate action.
Yeah.
For them, it seems to come down to a choice between environmental regulation and economic growth.
And it sounds like they've made their choice pretty clear.
They're prioritizing American energy potential and keeping energy affordable, even if it means taking a less aggressive approach to environmental concerns.
Which, again, lines up with their whole idea of less government involvement in the economy, right?
Absolutely. And that philosophy carries over into how they want to deal with regulatory agencies in general. Okay. They're looking to scale back regulations across the board, from finance to healthcare. They see it as a way to unleash businesses and boost the economy.
So it's about making it easier for businesses to operate and thrive,
Yeah.
at least in their view. But what about the other side of the coin?
Yeah.
People who say those regulations are there for a reason, like protecting consumers and the environment.
They acknowledge the need for some regulations, but emphasize wanting a more common sense approach.
Okay.
One that finds a better balance between protecting people and promoting economic growth.
So not about getting rid of regulations altogether,
No.
but definitely about reshaping them to fit their vision.
Exactly. It's about shifting that balance of power, making sure regulations don't stifle economic growth or individual freedom as they see it.
And speaking of reshaping the government, one area where Project 2025 really piqued my interest is in its plans for the Department of Justice.
Okay.
This is where their focus on what they call restoring law and order really takes center stage.
Right.
They want stricter sentencing guidelines, more support for law enforcement, and they're taking aim at what they call liberal district attorneys, who they believe are too lenient on crime. So a definite shift towards a tougher stance on crime.
You could say that
Yeah.
their argument is that the current system is failing, that it's too easy on criminals,
Right.
and that this is contributing to rising crime rates. They want to bring back a stronger sense of accountability and order.
But of course, crime is a complex issue with many contributing factors.
Sure.
Critics would argue that simply being tough on crime doesn't address the underlying causes.
They acknowledge the need to address root causes, but their emphasis is on making law and order the top priority.
Yeah.
For them, a strong justice system is the bedrock of a safe and successful society.
It's that classic debate, punishment versus rehabilitation, law and order versus social justice.
Right.
And it's a debate that's likely to continue regardless of who's in charge.
Absolutely. But Project 2025 gives us a really fascinating window into how one side of that debate is gearing up for the future.
Right.
And it's not just about domestic policy.
Right.
They have a whole foreign policy vision, too.
Oh, right. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
What's their take on America's role in the world?
They lay out a very strong, assertive foreign policy, one that focuses on American power and projecting that power on the global stage.
What does that look like in concrete terms?
Well, they call for a significant boost in defense spending, a much tougher stance towards China and Iran, and a reassertion of American leadership within NATO.
So a more muscular, less hesitant approach to dealing with other countries.
Precisely. They believe America has taken a back seat in global affairs recently,
Okay.
letting rivals gain ground.
Yeah.
They want to see a resurgence of American strength and influence, and a strong military is key to that.
But a more forceful approach has its downsides too, right?
Sure.
Critics might say it risks escalating tensions with countries like China.
They'd argue that a more assertive approach is necessary to protect American interests and deter aggression.
Okay.
Their belief is that a weak America invites chaos,
Right.
while a strong America, through its strength, actually promotes peace.
It's a complex issue with huge implications for America's place in the world.
It is.
And it's just one of many areas where Project 2025 really makes you stop and think about the potential future direction of American policy.
What's fascinating is that they've thought about everything: personnel, policy, transitions, messaging.
It really is.
It's not just a policy platform, it's a well-oiled machine.
It's clear they are not leaving anything to chance.
Nope.
They're playing the long game.
They are.
And whether you agree with their ideas or not,
Right.
you have to admire the planning and effort that's gone into this.
It's impressive.
It's a true case study in political strategy.
Yeah.
And it shows how important it is to, pay attention to these kinds of things.
Right.
Even if they seem, far off or disconnected from our everyday lives.
Exactly. What might seem like just a policy paper now could gain traction and actually reshape the country in a few years.
Yeah.
This isn't just about politics.
Yeah.
It is at the future we're all going to be living in.
And that's something to think about no matter what side of the aisle you're on.
Absolutely.
It's a good reminder that the future isn't just something that happens to us.
Right.
It's something we all play a role in shaping.
Absolutely. The more we understand the forces at play,
Yeah.
the ideas being debated,
Right.
and the strategies being used, the better equipped we are to navigate this complex political landscape.
Right.
Project 2025 throws all of that into sharp relief.
It's about being informed, engaged, and ready to participate in the conversations that will determine what happens next.
For sure.
After all, we're not just choosing between candidates in an election year. We're choosing between different visions for the country's future.
And that's a choice that deserves our full attention and careful consideration.
Yeah.
Project 2025 might be a conservative project,
Right.
but it raises questions we should all be thinking about.
For sure. So to wrap up our deep dive into Project 2025,
Okay.
it's clear that this is a significant development in the conservative movement, and it gives us a lot to think about.
It does.
What do you think, as someone who follows politics,
Sure.
is the most important thing for people to take away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that ideas have power.
Yeah.
And organized movements, especially those with long-term strategies, can have a real impact.
Right.
Whether you agree with their vision or not,
Right.
understanding their game plan is crucial.
That's a great point. Knowledge is power, as they say.
That's right.
Well, folks, there you have it. A look inside the ambitious world of Project 2025.
Yes.
Intriguing, thought-provoking, maybe even a little unsettling.
Right.
Whatever your reaction, it's definitely a conversation starter.
It makes you question your own assumptions
Sure.
and consider different perspectives, and that's always valuable no matter where you stand.
Absolutely. As we head into this pivotal election year and beyond, remember that the future isn't predetermined.
Right.
It's shaped by the choices we make
Yeah.
and the conversations we engage in today.
So stay curious, stay informed,
Yes,
and most importantly, stay engaged.
couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, keep diving deep.